Hello, friends.
Welcome back to the channel and welcome to our fake podcast. We are so excited because we have our very first guest on our fake podcast. This is our buddy Patrick. Welcome to the podcast, Patrick. We're so happy. We decided that Patrick decided because Patrick is a longtime vlog viewer. We decided that we would start having our friends on our fake podcast. And Patrick is the perfect first guest. So,
You want to know something creepy?
Yeah.
When I got cast last year in Hunchback, somehow I found your channel and I spent a good week because I was like, I need to know what I'm getting into.
Yeah.
So I spent a good week. Like, I've watched every vlog that I think you guys have ever made.
That is freaking awesome.
So I went into rehearsals being like, I know these people. They don't know that.
Oh, that's the most Patrick thing I've ever heard, honestly.
It is.
So if you are new here, we do lots of fun things on this channel. Patrick, do you know what we do on this channel? You're an avid viewer.
You do theater content, book content, lifestyle, and lifestyle and book. No.
You already said book.
Okay. Lifestyle and something.
Travel vlogs.
Travel vlogs. Thank you. Lifestyle and travel vlogs. DIY home projects. I already said shopping, right?
No.
Oh, shopping. And there's one more. Give me a hint.
Trader Joe's.
Trader Joe's. What?
Grocery.
Give me a hint. Just shout the hint.
Trader Joe's. Trader
I
Joe's.
thought it would be like where you go pick something up and buy.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. And we also do this fake podcast, which Scrimpy, tell us about the fake podcast and why it's fake.
We don't actually put it on any podcast platforms. It's just on YouTube.
And why do we do it?
So that Maile can hold a microphone.
Because I love the microphone.
She likes my microphones.
So we're so excited to have Patrick as our very first guest ever.
I just want you to promise me that at one point you'll get Shelly on here.
Oh yeah, we got to get Shelly on the podcast.
Shelly.
Yeah.
For sure. Because you don't have favorite Hopkins.
I don't have a favorite Hopkins, but
it's Shelly.
Shelly's up there.
Yeah. Just so you know, as a vlog viewer, we consider Patrick an honorary Hopkins. So Patrick, tell the people a little bit about how we met and why we know you and why we're friends.
Things that will come up in this vlog. I've been in theater my whole life. I've always loved Disney. Hunchback has always been one of my favorite Disney movies. And then when they made a Broadway show out of it, it became one of my dream roles and one of my favorite shows. And I've always kind of kept my eye on local theaters that have been doing it and when it aligns with my schedule. And finally last summer, SLT announced that they were doing Hunchback again, or attempting to do it again after COVID. And I was like, I think I can make this work. Maybe it's going to be tricky, but I think I can make this work with my schedule. But I was like, but I want to be honest and upfront with the directors about, my conflicts and just kind of get a feel for how it's all going to work. So I called Maile.
He called me.
I called her in my most formal, hello, is this Maile? I'm very interested in your production of The Hunchback of Notre Dame, but I just have a few questions. And I could tell she thought I was a total dweeb.
No,
but
I
in
didn't.
the best way.
No, I could tell that you were a kindred spirit. The way you approached that phone call was how I would approach that phone call if I was in your position. I could just tell. And in fact, we got off that phone call and Eric and I famously do not precast shows whatsoever. Especially Eric is extremely staunch about it.
Discussing.
No, he doesn't even like discussing. Who does he have in mind? I don't mind discussing that. But I got off the phone with Patrick, had never met this man before, knew nothing about it, didn't know what he looked like, nothing. If he could sing, if he could act, anything. And I got off the phone and I said to Eric, I think I might have just talked to our quasi. And the rest was kind of history. That's just kind of how it all went. We just immediately gelled. And it's crazy that we're coming up on July.
A year, yeah.
And it's just been a year.
Yeah.
That's so weird because I feel like I've known you my whole life.
Yeah.
So strange.
Yeah.
So he was our quasi in Hunchback, which you guys know if you are a viewer of the vlog is will always have a special place in our heart and be such a fabulous experience. And we're gearing up to direct our next show, which we're super, super excited about. But in the back of my mind, I'm just like, Hunchback's the one, it will always be
That's pretty awesome.
the special one.
Yeah.
So
I've done a lot of theater in my life, a stupid amount of theater.
Yeah, he has.
And it was one of the best experiences I've ever had. And I've done shows that had a bigger budget, let's say, or in a bigger theater. But what was perfect about Hunchback was it was directed immaculately. It really was. SLT is a really special place. And I know Maile has said that. You might have said that a couple times too on the vlog. But like as an outsider coming in, I can tell you that that's true. And everyone was so nice. You know, that was one of the things I felt people out. What am I getting myself into here?
Yeah.
And they were like, everyone's going to be really nice. And I was like, okay, sure. Like, oh, sure, everyone's nice, right? No, everyone is really nice.
Yeah.
And it was a great experience.
Good.
It was great.
It was great.
Yeah.
I loved it. Scrimpy, do you have anything to add about Patrick and our relationship?
Your all's relationship, it's a very threatening thing. No. I mean, literally after Patrick sang at auditions, Maile leaned over to me and said, I want to marry him. I'm in love with him.
That's literally what I said.
And I was like, okay, had a good run.
So weird.
So
that's not the normal response I elicit from people. So,
like I said, we just instantly clicked. So Patrick is also a huge theater buff like we are. And you direct a bajillion shows a year. He has an insane schedule.
yeah.
So theater is also basically your life, like us. So what is your favorite show? Like, what's the pinnacle show, whether you've directed it or haven't directed it or starred in it or whatever? Like, what's your favorite show when you think about favorite shows?
So my favorite musical is Parade. And if you know
Love Parade.
anything about me, that's not a secret. I don't know. I saw it when I was way too young to see it. There was a local university doing a production. I think I was maybe in the 6th grade, you know?
Yeah, that's a little heavy
little
for a
heavy
6th
for a
grader.
it's called Parade.
Yeah.
It's a fun show.
Parade is very dense in its kind of political and social discussions and the things that it talks about, and all of that went right over my head. I mean, I guarantee you it did. But what I remember about that show was the relationship between the main character and his wife, and just how beautifully it spoke to the lengths we will go to for the people that we love.
Yeah.
And how often in the most tragic of circumstances, like you can find the most beautiful relationships and and you can see the best parts of people.
Yeah.
I remember that's what spoke to me about it. That was sort of my gateway into the show. And then, you know, as I got older and the score is
Phenomenal.
insanely good. And then as I got older, you know, then the political and sort of social stuff also kind of came in, and I thought, you know, I mean, it's not probably a main, you know, everyone's favorite, you know, kind of the way like Les Mis is, you know, like a mainstream, and I love Les Mis too. But yeah, it's always been the one that I'm like, yeah, nothing's ever topped that in terms of just what I connect to, what I can listen to over and over and over, what I know all the words to, what I always am still to this day finding new things when I look at it, listen to it, read about it. Yeah, it's like it keeps giving and giving and giving, to me at least.
Yeah, it's such a layered show.
Yeah,
There's so much to it.
Yeah, that's my favorite. But gosh, I mean, in terms of shows I've directed, there's so many, and I get asked this question a lot. Like, what's your favorite show you've ever directed? And the truth is, I can't name one, because directing is such a multifaceted job, and you can have a show that is artistically very satisfying and really, really close to what, you know, the vision you have in your head, but it could not resonate with your audience super well, right? And I've had that before. I directed a production of Evita summer 2019, and I thought it was incredible. It's not very often that I think I did a really good job.
I'm proud, yeah.
But that one I thought, I really feel like I did something well with this.
Yeah.
And the response was kind of like,
Interesting.
and then I've done shows where I'm like, this is so stupid. You know? I'm like, this, and
people
are like,
freaking love it.
I love it. It's
Yeah.
so good. So, you know, it's hard to say. I mean, you know, sometimes I've had shows that have been, you know, commercially, we'll say, for lack of a better word, successful. But then I've had shows that artistically, I just was so proud
Loved.
of, you know. So I don't have a great answer to that
That's
question.
okay.
But many.
I think it's so interesting because for me too, so much of making a good show or a good experience or whatever is for me about the people that are in it. Like sometimes you have a cast that just totally gels and loves each other and it's an amazing fun time. Sometimes you have a cast that's at each other's throats. Like I've been in so many casts of both kinds, you know, and I tend, when I think about my favorite shows and the stuff that I've done, the things that stick out to me more even are the people that have been involved and the experience I had interpersonally, you know. Yeah. What about you, Scrimp?
No, I definitely agree with that sentiment. And there have been I've always been kind of I would rather have a hard time in rehearsals for the sake of a good product than have a really fun, engaging time with the rehearsal process.
Yeah, you are that way.
The end show be okay or bad in some cases. And I've been in both types of shows. Crucible, the show where we met, was not a fun rehearsal process, but
that was
I
a
loved
brutal
the show
process
that we created. So yeah.
Do you know that we play the same character?
Really?
Yeah, you played it probably when you should have, and I played it as a junior in high school.
Yeah,
but
that's so funny.
One more point on that. I think when you're performing or directing at a community theater level, where mostly everyone there is volunteer, and most everyone has a day job, and most everyone doesn't have to be there necessarily, I think you have to offer a different experience than when I was younger and I did a lot of professional theater work, and they don't care about your experience. Yeah. They don't care if you're getting along. You're getting paid, you're there to do a job. Yeah. It's just it offers something different. But community theater, especially around here where, well, not here, but in the metro area, especially where there's so many theaters. Yeah. You've got to offer people an enjoyable time, right? Or they're like, oh, I'm gonna go do something somewhere else. Exactly. So it's that game, right? But then for me, it's not sacrificing the product for the experience. Yeah. Right. That's always been sort of the balance that I've had to come up with is, okay, I want to put on the best show possible because otherwise why are we here? Right. We could just go hang out at a restaurant if we wanted to be social. Right. But you have to make it something people want to come back and do, and worth 6 to 9 weeks of their life. It's a tricky balance in community theater.
Yeah, and I think being in Shawnee, especially now that we have been very fortunate, including you, to start bringing people in from the metro area, that adds another wrinkle of you have people driving an half hour to an hour one way, and a lot of those people don't know anybody socially at the theater, so they really are there to kind of come get to know people, but also you don't want to waste people's time. You don't want people to feel okay, the schedule said we were starting rehearsal at 7. It's 7:15. The directors are still chatting with their buddies. What are we doing here?
Oh, I hate it when people do that.
And so it's that balancing act of keeping things focused, not wasting people's time, but also making it a fun and engaging experience for people. So,
and it's so interesting because it's so different for me as Maile as a director or a choreographer, someone on the production staff, versus Maile being an actor in the show. Because when I'm an actor in a show, I am there to have a good time.
You're a problem.
Now, I will say, I'm not a problem. That's not true. I always know my stuff. I always practice. I know
I'm not saying
my
you're
stuff.
A problem in not knowing stuff.
But I like to socialize. I like to have fun.
You don't mind if the rehearsal gets started at 7:10.
No, I really don't. When I'm the director, I'm the opposite. I to the extreme have to have things go perfectly on schedule. I take it very, very seriously. So it's just interesting. Yeah. Do you feel like you're different, or I don't know, you're pretty intense as an actor too.
Am I?
And maybe it's just because the role I've worked with you in was so important. There's so much to that, but
yeah, I think I am pretty intense. Generally.
Not in a bad way. Just you don't talk when we're in the middle of blocking. You have your stuff, you're writing it down, you're thinking through, you're looking at your notes. You're pretty focused. Maybe not intense, just focused would be the right word.
I don't perform a lot. And so I think I felt sort of a pressure on myself to almost prove to myself, can I still do this? Is this something I'm still good at? And so I think there was a lot of self-imposed pressure in that particular experience, but I've always taken what I've done very seriously. Yeah. I don't take myself very seriously, which I think is good.
Yeah.
But I take what I do very seriously.
It's so interesting because I wonder for you, do you feel like directing is more of like a safety blanket and acting and performing is more putting yourself out there?
100%.
Yeah. Because that's how I feel. Like the older I get, the more comfortable I am being on the production side. A, because I'm a control freak and I like to be in charge of the product, but also B, because I was a like fearless performer when I was a kid, when I was in high school, like up until college, really, I was just like full of confidence, like went out there and did my stuff, was amazing and had no fear about it. But I don't know what switch flipped for me, but it takes so much of me to put myself out there now. And like to the point where I don't want to do lead roles anymore. Like the thought of that stresses me out so badly. Like I would so much rather dance in the chorus and just like have an easy, fun time with people. And that's just interesting.
Yeah, I think that in terms of the individual person, yes, performing is much more vulnerable, much more exposed. But your responsibility is really to yourself, right? Maybe to your director and, you know, the character you create together and with your fellow castmates, but it's, you have to worry about your slice of the puzzle, right? Whereas when you're a director, you have to worry about the whole puzzle.
Everything.
I really feel like part of directing is taking responsibility for the outcome. Sometimes you don't have a lot of control over certain aspects of the outcome, but ultimately it's still you're still the director. It's still your name. And so
it may not be your fault, but it was your responsibility.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and there have been shows where I haven't felt like have turned out, as well as would have wanted them to. And upon reflection, I'll go, but that wasn't really my fault.
Yeah.
But it's still something I take responsibility.
Your name
for.
is on it. Yeah. As the leader.
I think the pressure is different.
See, and it's funny that you put it that way, because for me as a director, I almost view it the opposite. And this, just to rewind the clock on so I played football in high school and I was an offensive lineman. And I promise there's context that is relevant.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, we don't understand football
We're the guys
whatsoever.
that protect the quarterback or try to make a hole for the running back to go forward.
Good for you.
Like, I don't know if that helps.
Sounds like a lot of responsibility.
We don't care.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point being, if things go well, the offensive linemen don't get the credit because it's the quarterback and the receivers and the running back.
Got it.
But if things go poorly, the
It's your
quarterback
fault.
gets sacked. Well, the offensive line didn't protect him, et cetera, et cetera. And so all that saying, directing for me is almost a very similar thing in that, sure, my name is on it from a director's standpoint, but the audience, if something looks bad, if something sounds bad, if something sounds good or looks good, nobody's going to think about me in the moment. They're going to think about the performers that they are seeing in front of them, and that's going to be the context in which they lay the blame.
I feel like that's true for audiences that don't necessarily get involved with theater beyond an audience level. But like for me, I'm only thinking about the director when I'm sitting watching a show,
because we're
like
directors, like
right.
I'm not talking.
I'm
about
like, oh,
us,
that was a choice, or why didn't they work with that person, or why didn't they fix that?
Yeah. I mean, for me, what you're saying makes sense, and is probably a much healthier way to think.
Yeah, probably.
But for me, when I see something, and especially when I see a kid, right, a teenager, and they've been put in a situation to do something they're not ready for, or not given the skills to kind of, keep them buoyant in their role or their responsibility, it makes me mad at the director.
Yeah.
Because I think you put someone in a position to do something that they weren't ready for. Like you should have, so with me, the blame always does kind of lie with the director, but that's probably because I am a director and I take on that responsibility.
I am also the same way as an audience member of like, I get mad at the director when I'm watching a show more often than I'm frustrated with the performers that I'm seeing, because I know where the problem actually lies because I understand that.
As a director, it's so much more at the forefront to frame someone's performance based on how they were directed in that performance.
Well, if I may,
You may go right ahead.
For a second. If I may, having been an actor working with the two of you, what I found so fascinating, what I was ultimately very jealous of, was how you both carried different responsibilities sort of in the directing world, at least from my point of view. I'm sure
Yeah,
behind
no,
the
that's
scenes
very true.
there was a lot of overlap, but you know, it was like as the actor, you thought, okay, Maile is really handling the visual components of a lot of this, the technical, you know, formations and pictures and, you know, the traffic of everything. And that's very difficult. And it is a very underrated, part of directing, right? The look and the transitions and how things move. And that can suck up your entire brain power, plus the choreography, right? Which is kind of a whole separate.
Because I literally am such a control freak. I can't have someone else do the choreography. I'm just so stupid.
The only thing I'll hire out for is ballet, just because that's not my thing. But, and then Eric was the director that would sit down with you and have conversations about character and intention and relationships and all of that, which fed, you know, into, you know, what you were able to perform on stage. But then what Maile gave you was the security of consistency and the security of, you know, knowing what you were supposed to be doing. And then Eric gave you the intention. And it was like, if you squeeze Maile and Eric together, you get like the perfect director, right?
That's very nice.
For me, I always feel like I have to sacrifice something because I do it on my own, right?
Yeah.
I can't do all of that and all of that unless you give me 4 months.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. With a cast every day.
And to be fair to you, your rehearsal processes are so much shorter than ours.
Short.
They are
Yeah,
so
10
much
weeks.
shorter.
Yeah.
So if we had to do what you do in the amount of time you have, our process would be totally different.
Right.
I mean, it would be so much harder. We get 8 to 10 weeks, whereas you get like 3 to 6.
Yeah.
If you're lucky, 6.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
generally 2.5 in the
crazy
in the winter.
That is
I did Fun
crazy.
Home. I directed Fun Home this past December, January, and if you take out Christmas and New Year's, it's about 2.5 weeks.
That is so insane, and it was such a good show. Oh my gosh, it was so good.
It was okay.
It was really good.
It was okay.
We need to practice
self-affirmation.
self-affirmations
Self-promotion.
self-promotion.
See, this is the thing is, you know, Eric's like, the audience isn't thinking about you, and meanwhile, I'm the director. I'm like a theater rat. Like I hide in the dark corners, you know, and like
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm thinking about you.
and watch people watch the show.
Yeah,
Like at my school, I had this little nook that I just kind of squeeze myself in, and I just watch the audience watch the show. You know,
It's so freaking funny. Being a choreographer is completely different. I don't know if you're like this too, but Maile as a director and Maile as a choreographer, completely different. Are you that way?
the way I run a rehearsal, yes,
Mm-hmm.
but I think I try to always make sure that whatever I'm doing, whether it's teaching blocking or teaching choreography, is always servicing the story.
Yeah.
Right? Like no matter what you do, it is servicing the story.
Yeah.
And if you're just putting in a triple pirouette to, you know, show off,
Look
that you-
impressive.
I think that you're a little misaligned.
Yeah, you've
right?
lost the plot.
And yes, there are technical aspects of dance that you have to teach somebody.
Yeah.
Right. You can't just be like, do something that relates to the story. Like obviously there's a sequence of choreography and a technique of choreography. And yes. And for it to look good and look right. Yes. But I think that as a director, if you're doing both and you think about them separately, that's where you can get yourself into trouble. Now, how I teach it and lead it, I would say is different.
Yeah.
You know, again, with choreography, teaching choreography is my least favorite part.
Really?
I love creating choreography. Teaching it is my least favorite part.
Interesting.
I find it very monotonous.
Yeah.
I find it very laborious.
Do you get stressed out easily when you're teaching choreography? Because I find myself, that's when I get the most stressed. Like that's when my temper is the shortest. Like that's why I say Maile director is different from Maile choreographer. Like when I'm choreographing,
She's mean.
everyone better be quiet. I will be nice to a point, but if you are fiddle farting around and not listening and it's taking longer because you're fiddle farting around and not listening.
Where did you hear the term fiddle farting? Because you said that yesterday, and I've never heard you say that turn of phrase before.
You know where I heard it? From Molly on Mammoth Club, which is a Disney and Universal YouTube channel.
Okay.
She says fiddle fart all the time.
That's great. I'm always looking for phrases I can say at school that aren't curse words.
Perfect. Fiddle
That's a
fart.
good
There you
one.
go. You're welcome.
That's a good one.
But yeah, like I just find that I have to focus more as a choreographer because I like to carry that organized with it together mentality that I have in directing that comes pretty easy into teaching choreography. And that's a little harder for me because I'm very exact about my vision and what I want. And especially when you're working with people who don't have as much experience, it can get frustrating.
Yeah.
It's so funny because sometimes I just long to have like dance competition dancers, like, and that's where the technical dance comes out of me. And I probably need to lean more on what you're saying about connecting the choreography with the story and not worrying so much about the technical dance elements. But I get much more easily frustrated as a choreographer.
I mean, when you're working with your friends, it's like when you're a director, Maile, like they can like make jokes and like
I don't
be
care.
snarky. But if you're doing choreography,
I
and they
snap
get
at them
snarky,
and they know it.
Well, again, I feel like it depends on what you're directing.
That's very true.
And this is the thing about directing is people want these black and white answers, and I've learned that it's gonna differ.
Yeah,
right?
show to
the
show.
big things are always gonna be the same.
Yeah,
there are things that will be set, but if I'm directing a chorus line, those people better be able to know how to dance.
Yes.
Because the piece requires it
Yes.
to tell that story.
Yes.
Right? If I'm doing You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, and they can't dance, it's not going to be that big of a deal.
Right.
So I think that each piece calls for different, something different. I also do feel, not to toot my own horn, but I feel like I have gotten really good over the years about giving people choreography they can execute well.
Yeah, no, that's something I always have in the back of my brain too, is this easy for me or is this easy for everyone?
Which means she has to make me try all of her choreography at home.
No, that's so
That's
true.
incredible.
Do you know how often I use Eric as a guinea pig? I'm like,
That's
Eric,
such a good idea.
is this actually easy or am I thinking it's easy and it's
That's
not?
like
and I'll teach it to him.
Workshopping your choreography.
Yeah.
That's
And
great.
Eric is very teachable, but he's not a dancer.
Yeah.
He can totally move. So it's genius.
Yeah.
I can move.
Yeah, that's I love that.
Yeah.
I gotta find somebody like that.
I'll work on
Any
it. Don't
takers?
worry.
Going back to our discussion about like shows that we've been a part of and like the environment of being in a show, especially at the community theater level, play that goes wrong was such a weirdly, I've never been in a show like it before and may never be going forward, because there was the director, like 2 weeks in, realized that she could trust every performer on the stage, like to know their stuff and to take care of each other. And we all gained a certain level of trust to where we, like, after opening night, like me and one of the other actors was like, hey, that moment didn't really like work. What do you think we could shift and change? And like that night to night, like there were little tweaks happening up until closing night of that show. And it was so fun and freeing and also chaotic. And you would have actors trying new things on stage and not realizing they were going to do something different and have to try not to break. But yeah, it was just such a weirdly unique experience having that level of trust with an entire cast and the director sharing in that trust and being like, whatever you all want to do,
fun, play.
Like, I know that you're going to make it funny. So make it funny and just don't hurt each other. So yeah.
So funny.
And most of us took that advice.
I saw it. It was very good. I laughed a lot.
But that show was so much fun every night, just being behind the scenes, like low stakes, like just hanging with people. It was so much fun.
It's also kind of it was probably the most active crew show I've ever seen, because you all were back there.
Oh yeah, we were busy.
Pulling magnets
We
off
were
the wall
so
and like
busy.
having to make all the technical stuff happen.
Yeah, we were so busy.
And since it's a community theater, you can't do any of that digitally. Like I'm sure professional productions have a button that you can hit.
Just
and, like,
computers everywhere.
This magnet
Yeah.
activates but community theater, you have like fishing magnets back there attached to ropes
That
you're
you're pulling.
to make the stunts go
So
off.
funny.
Okay, I'm going to tell you a really funny story about fishing lines. I directed Carrie. If you know anything about Carrie, she's telekinetic, right? And it was about, I don't know, 2 weeks into the process where I went, oh, crap.
How the heck am I going to do this?
All this? So there was this one, I wanted the act to end. I don't know if you know the show at all, but anyway, she does this crazy thing with her mom and she shows off her powers, and then she sits down at the table and they're eating pie. And I wanted her to sit down and I wanted the pie to just slide in front of her. And then she stuck a fork in it. And that was how we ended act one.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was very dramatic. So what we had to do was we had to rig this piece of fishing line right under the table, and she would sit down and the actress would, very nonchalantly pull it kind of under the tablecloth and the pie would slide to her. Well, every night the pie would just go broop and fall off the table.
Oh
Like,
no.
I mean, this was like during dress rehearsals.
Yeah.
I mean, and it was trial and error, right? And finally, we figured out how to make it work and that it could be consistent. But it's like, those are things that are asked of you sometimes. And,
Yes.
whereas, again, if you're in a professional house or a budget, you've got a special effects designer, you've got something,
Yes.
But it's the things you have to figure out sometimes, or the things you have to buy, or the things you have to make. It's a very weird life.
It's so
It's weird.
funny.
The problem solving aspect is, I think, my favorite part of directing is having to think outside the box and try to figure out, okay, this isn't working. How are we going to fix it? Yeah, I love that.
That's so funny. I can't say I love that part of it. It stresses me out a little bit. I like for everything to be decided and in order and fixed. Okay, well, we could literally talk forever about theater. And I love that on our fake podcast, where we don't plan for anything whatsoever and just sit down and see what happens, it's turned into a lovely discussion about directing at the community theater level, which I think is very apropos.
It could be its own podcast.
It could be its own podcast, totally.
Many, many seasons.
Yeah, it could. Oh my gosh, it could. We've got some wild stories. But before we end, let's talk a little bit about Patrick and I's love story.
Okay.
News to me.
I just mean how we love each other so much and we're obsessed with each other. Patrick and I are kind of the same human. We have some differences, though.
Yeah, we do.
We definitely do.
I'm not a Taylor Swift fan.
You're not a shopper.
No, not really.
Yeah.
No, I'm not a shopper. I don't like Taylor Swift at all.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
We just don't talk about that.
Yeah.
It's like how you don't talk about politics at Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Patrick and I just don't talk about Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of things in common. A lot.
Should we talk about Disney? Briefly? Can we talk briefly about Disney?
Yeah, we are huge Disney adults.
Love Disney.
And poor Eric is just sitting over there with his microphone crossed across his chest.
Uh-huh.
Eric, you would not identify as a Disney adult.
No.
Patrick and I would, for sure.
We talked about this on the fake podcast.
Yeah. So what's your favorite park at World?
Okay. This is such a hard question.
Yeah, I know.
I think at the end of the day, make me choose one. I think it's Animal Kingdom.
Yeah, I can see that. Mm-hmm.
I love Magic Kingdom for just the classic Disney-ness of it all, and the characters there, but I love Star Wars, and so I love Toy Story, and so I love the Haunted Mansion ride, and so I love Hollywood Studios too.
Yeah.
Epcot is probably my least favorite.
Interesting.
I know.
It's Eric's favorite.
I know. I don't know why. I think it's because there aren't as many rides.
Yeah.
It's more of an
ambiance.
Food and drink.
Yeah.
Park. I mean, they've got the Frozen ride, and what else is Soarin' there?
Yeah, Soarin's
They got
there.
Guardians of the
Figment,
Galaxy now.
Okay.
Guardians
I
now.
haven't done Guardians.
It's okay.
It made me nauseous, but everything makes me nauseous.
Okay.
So
It's still an incredible park.
Yeah.
But I think I just love Animal Kingdom.
I love Animal Kingdom.
I just love
too.
Animal Kingdom.
So let me ask you this: Animal Kingdom is your favorite, but if you were you had something that was taking you to Florida, and you only had time to get a day ticket for one park, would you pick Animal Kingdom? If you could only spend one day, or would you pick Hollywood Studios just because it has a lot more things you want to do?
Okay, I need some context here. Am I going by myself?
You got one person with you.
Has this person been to Disney World before?
You both been.
So we're both
You're just there trying to have a good time. Yeah.
Okay, under that context, probably Hollywood Studios.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think Hollywood Studios.
Because Epcot's my favorite, but if I only have one day, I'm probably doing Hollywood Studios just because there's more to do.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
Miley's answer is all of them.
Yeah.
Regardless.
You can do 4 parks in one day. I've done it.
I've had to do it also. It's awful. Would not recommend.
Yeah, I don't think I would ever go to Disney though unless I could spend at least 3 to 4 days.
Yeah.
And then last summer I got to go on a Disney cruise, which I highly recommend.
See, okay, we need to have a conversation about
All right,
this.
let's do it.
Because both Eric and I hate the open ocean. The thought of the open ocean terrifies me. I also get motion sick at literally the drop of a hat. I've never been on a cruise. I also get claustrophobic, and I don't like the idea of being stuck on a boat in the middle of the ocean with random strangers. But I would go on a Disney cruise. That's the only thing I would do.
I don't know. It may not be for you.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, those three things are big components of a cruise.
So the Disneyness of it wouldn't necessarily outweigh the cruiseness of it for me, probably, you think?
The motion sickness thing is what I would be the most cautious of, just because you can't escape that.
I don't know how I would be. You know what I mean? And so
you could keep yourself insular in the boat and not go up to the decks where you can see the ocean.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's very possible to do that.
Yeah.
They're big enough. It doesn't feel crowded.
Oh,
the only time
really?
I ever felt crowded was trying to get an elevator. That was a nightmare. But other than that, it's a big ship.
Yeah.
And so you never feel. Now, sometimes they have like dance parties on the pool deck.
Yeah.
Those can be very. But again, if you just avoided that area.
Yeah.
Although that's where like all the cafes are. The food is incredible.
So yummy.
You'd probably be okay, but I don't know how you would avoid the motion sickness.
I mean, basically what you just said is I'm allergic to peanuts. I hate the texture of jelly, and gluten makes me sick. But if a peanut butter and jelly sandwich was in the shape of Mickey Mouse, I'd eat it. Like,
wow, you must be really proud of yourself for that analogy. That was so good.
What's your favorite Disney movie?
It's so hard. It's so hard. Honestly, probably Mary Poppins.
Okay.
But also maybe
Hunchback.
Peter Pan.
Mine is also probably Hunchback.
Yeah.
But who's your favorite princess?
Jasmine.
Ariel.
Mine's Pocahontas. Don't come for me, vlog. I know that Pocahontas is controversial. I know that there's a lot.
I'll confirm after we
Like,
start rolling.
and I get it. Okay. And I support it being that. But if you take all of that away,
Just take it all
Transport
away.
yourself
it
back
is
to the
a
90s.
beautiful love story.
It is.
It is
I
an
love that movie.
incredible love story. And the music
The
is so
soundtrack is
good.
incredible. The
It's
soundtrack
so
is so good. And the villain, I mean, it's a good villain.
Ratcliffe?
Yeah.
Was I Ratcliffe for Halloween one year? Maybe I was.
No, you were not. That's
I
awesome.
absolutely was.
That is freaking awesome.
I was Joe Pesci from Home Alone one year.
Amazing.
I had the best Halloween costumes because my grandparents made them.
Who's your favorite prince? Nobody thinks about the princes.
Yours is Prince Eric. I wonder
Obviously. Because Little Mermaid is a phenomenal movie.
I agree. I agree with that. I don't think these are princes. Like, is Flynn Rider a prince?
why. Yeah, I think he's a prince.
The only qualification to be an official Disney prince is that their companion is a Disney princess. Rapunzel is, so Flynn Rider counts.
Okay. I actually am going to change my answer then. I think it's Kristoff.
I do love Kristoff.
I think it's Kristoff.
Anna and Elsa are not Disney princesses. Frozen's its own.
They're their own.
They're not under the Disney princess umbrella.
What?
But
Because they make too much money on their own.
like they are not on
They're-
Disney princess things.
Okay.
Silly.
So my favorite non-Disney prince is Kristoff.
I don't even know who mine would be.
What's your favorite ride?
It's so hard.
At each park. Should I do at
Oh,
each
God.
park?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Favorite ride at each park. I'll go first because I had this answer prepared. My favorite ride, and I don't like roller coasters. Like I'm not a big. I know you guys are, but I'm not a big roller coaster person. But I like rides. So my favorite ride at Magic Kingdom is Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. I know it's kind of a roller coaster too, but it's not really a roller coaster.
It's not a real roller coaster. I love Seven
Okay.
Dwarfs.
My favorite ride at Animal Kingdom is Flight of Passage.
Okay. It makes Maile nauseous.
That's my least favorite ride I've ever ridden in my entire life.
Because you almost puked. Like,
I
That
hate
would
it.
make me hate it too.
I hate it.
My favorite,
I can see how amazing it is,
Yeah,
though.
I also love the safari, but
I do too.
And Bugs Life. Bugs Life is underrated.
Bugs Life gives me hives. I had a bad experience on Bugs Life as a child. Like the part where they like stick your.
Yeah.
I
And they,
just
like,
hate
spray
it.
you with okay.
Too much unknown. I mean, I did. It is a childhood staple to me, but it stresses me out.
My favorite Hollywood Studios is Haunted Mansion, and then my favorite.
Wait,
Hollywood
Haunted
Studios is
Mansion
Magic
in
Kingdom.
It's not
Magic
it's-
Kingdom.
it's
You
at
mean Magic Kingdom?
Yes. No, I said Seven Dwarfs Mine Train.
Oh,
So what's my favorite Hollywood Studios? I really like Slinky. That was fun. Slinky was fun.
Oh.
I actually think it's probably any of the rides in Star Wars.
yeah,
Any of them.
yeah.
And then my favorite Epcot ride is Frozen. Soarin'.
there's not really.
Frozen's my favorite at
There's
Epcot.
not-
I'm over here trying to think of my favorite Epcot ride. And it's
Yeah.
like,
Well, Guardians of the Galaxy is probably yours.
I think it's fine. Like,
okay. Well, my favorite at Epcot is absolutely the Frozen ride.
Yeah.
I love that ride so much. My favorite Animal Kingdom ride is probably, honestly, controversial. The River Rapids. I love that ride so much. I also love the safari, though.
That's just because I know this Hopkins story about how one day they were there and they wrote it over and over and over and over.
It's amazing.
It's a core memory for the Hopkins clan.
That's right. It's a core cousin
Yeah,
memory.
There's
You're
some
right.
nostalgia to it. I wasn't
I
there.
love that you
Yeah.
know that. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
You were there in our hearts.
Yeah, I've always been
Before
there.
we knew
It's a little
you.
creepy.
My favorite in Hollywood Studios, that's the hardest because that's my favorite park and I have like 10 million, but probably Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, followed very closely by Rise of the Resistance. I just think that's the best ride that's ever been created
Yeah,
ever.
that is very good.
And then Magic Kingdom is Small World and I have no apologies
Ugh.
about that.
Anyway, Eric,
Yeah, right.
what's your favorite?
Magic Kingdom is probably Haunted Mansion. I'm trying to think of another. I'm kind of the opposite of you. I'm more of a thrill ride person.
Yeah.
So Magic Kingdom's never really had a whole lot for me. Tower of Terror. Oh, Magic Kingdom Space Mountain.
Oh,
is-
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then Tower of Terror in Hollywood Studios. Animal Kingdom is Mount Everest.
I love that ride.
And Epcot, I guess Guardians.
No, say the Frozen ride.
No, the Frozen ride isn't that good.
But you love riding it with me because it brings me so much joy and you love to see the joy on my face it brings me.
Mm-hmm. Sure. The Ratatouille ride sucks.
Have you ridden that?
I don't think I have.
Don't waste your time.
It's like all screens.
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing to eat at Disney?
Probably, this is such a lame answer, but probably the Mickey ice cream bars.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like a Mickey premium bar or a Mickey ice cream sandwich?
a Mickey ice cream sandwich.
Okay.
So
That's the right answer.
Here's my plan.
I like 'em both.
When I retire in 85 years, I want to move to Florida and I want to work at Disney World and I just want to be that guy who pushes around the ice cream cart.
Yeah.
I want to die at Disney World on the ice cream cart. Maybe
Pushing
not,
an ice
'cause that
cream
would be
cart.
traumatic. Maybe like once it's closed or before it opens, but like I just want to give people ice cream at Disney. Like, doesn't that sound incredible?
It really does. It really does.
Have you been to Universal Studios?
Yes.
Did you enjoy that? It's
Yeah.
more ride
It
heavy.
is more ride. So like I mean I like Universal. It is not Disney to me, but I like it. I love Harry Potter. So like love the Harry Potter rides. I went last summer before we got on the Disney cruise and we did the castle ride and we did Gringotts and we did Hagrid's.
Okay. Yeah.
The
Love
magic
Hagrid's.
the bike one.
Yeah.
You guys
Yeah.
done that one? Yeah, that one we did get stuck on, which was a little terrifying.
That is terrifying.
Yeah.
But it's right when you right before you drop through the devil's snare.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh.
you're in that cave and the whole ride just stops. So we're in darkness.
Oh,
And you're just stopped
creepy.
there. And I was with like there were little kids around and they were freaking out and I was like, it's fine. It's fine. We're fine.
Everything's going to be okay.
Yeah. So that was a little traumatic. But
and then the ride starts and you just drop.
right, and then you just go, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And I like the Jurassic Park stuff. I did not go on
Velocicoaster.
Velocicoaster.
The best roller
That's just
coaster
not
ever
my
made.
thing,
It's the
and
best
that's
roller coaster I've ever
fine.
been on.
Saw Final Destination 3 too many times.
Yeah,
you know,
I get
to
that.
just-
I
it's
get
just
that.
in
That's
there.
why I don't go in tanning beds.
Final Destination 2 is why I don't drive behind trucks with logs on
Logs.
the side.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't blame you. And I like all the superhero stuff, and yeah, I mean it's fun. Like I'll go.
Yeah.
That's how I feel
Just
about it too.
curious.
Yeah.
It's not Disney. It could never be Disney.
It's not, but some people love it more than Disney. So good for them.
Me.
What's your favorite Disney restaurant?
Like at
Like Disney Springs or at any of the parks? Like sit down, eat a meal.
this is not a great question for me because I can never remember their names.
Oh.
I bet if you just describe it, Maile will be able to.
Yeah. We did one the last time I was in the park for a prolonged period of time. And I think it was in Hollywood Studios. And it was like a 50s.
50s
50s
Primetime Diner.
Primetime Diner? Or was it Hollywood and Vine? Because there's two. Was
It
it
may
buffet
have-
style or was it order from a menu?
I think it was ordered from a menu.
Then 50s Primetime.
That was pretty good. I ate at a Chinese restaurant in Epcot. That
Nine
was-
Dragons.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. It was like the best Chinese food I've ever had. It was sit down. Although I will say, when we went to Universal, we ate at Leaky Cauldron.
Yeah.
And
So
I don't know if
freaking
I
good.
was just starving, but that food was
No, it is amazing.
incredible.
What did you have?
I had the
Shepherd's Pie.
Maybe it was Shepherd's Pie.
Yeah. They also do fish and chips. That's like my favorite fish and chips I've ever had.
Yeah, I don't eat seafood.
Yeah. It's so yummy. It's another difference. Add it to the list.
Yeah, it has a smell to me. Seafood has a smell to me that I can't get over. I'm not a vegetarian. I love meat. But seafood, it's not my thing.
What else do we have in common? I made you read the ACOTAR series.
Yeah.
You're not done with it yet.
I'm not done with it.
You got to hurry it up.
I was really fast and furious on the first 2.5 books, and then when school ended, I got off. But you want to talk about ACOTAR on this?
No. We also both love Bridgerton.
We do love Bridgerton.
You need to read those books too.
Yeah. I'm not a big reader. I know. I love, ironically, podcasts. Like that has become my thing over the past couple years.
What's your favorite podcast?
90s TV show rewatch podcasts. Any of them. So like Boy Meets World, Full House, Saved by the Bell, like any of those, where especially when it's the cast that comes back and
talking about like behind the scenes stories. Yeah.
I also kind of love the Dance Moms podcast.
Oh, I freaking love Dance Moms. Anything that has to do with dance.
Part 4. Here we go.
But who's your favorite girl?
Literally
on
going
Dance
to exit
Moms?
this.
Who's my favorite girl?
Yeah.
God. In terms of what?
Everything.
The chaos they bring?
Just who's your favorite girl?
Mia.
Okay, that's a good favorite girl. Mine's Maddie. It always will be Maddie. I know. It always will be. Who's your favorite mom?
Jill.
Jill's my favorite mom too. She's my favorite mom too. I love that girl. She's unhinged.
Yeah, she's the most chaotic. So anyway, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. Well, anything else to report?
When are we going to do another show together?
When is your schedule going to be free for us to do another show together? You know what would be funny? I wonder if it would be chaos or if it would be amazing for us to direct together. I think
like the three of us?
No, just you and me.
Oh.
Yeah, I knew I was getting kicked out of the equation.
I feel too bad about that.
I think you and I are too similar to direct together.
Think so,
I think Patrick and I would be a better
I
team
think
than
you
Patrick.
two would be good.
Yeah.
But you and I feel like we would be, I don't know, because maybe we would just agree on everything.
I feel like I would be a monster. Because I am very like, there are times when I'm like, I know exactly what I want.
Yeah. And you're not used to working
And I'm not. I'm used
with
to
others.
doing it all on my own.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Interesting experiment, but at what cost?
At what cost? Oh, it's so funny. I just need to come be in one of your shows.
You could do that.
That's what I need to do.
If you direct a play, I could come do that.
Yeah.
But you don't
Yeah,
direct
Eric
plays
doesn't
that
like
often.
musicals.
I love musicals. I'm not good in musicals.
Okay, okay. Oh gosh. See, I'm like Bubba Walters over here. What's your dream show at SLT to direct together and for me to be in?
Parade.
Oh, it is Parade?
I mean, yeah.
Okay.
We would have to
yours?
make a lot of
I would rather direct, specifically for the SLT crowd, Into the Woods is much higher on the list
I
for
do.
me.
Yeah, Into the Woods is very high on the list for me too.
If you do any Sondheim,
You're
apart
in?
from like Sweeney,
I'm not doing Sweeney.
just because I've done the role I can do in that.
I hate Sweeney.
But if you did any Sondheim or any like Jason Robert Brown,
Yeah.
like I would probably.
Last 5 years is seriously on Eric's list. He would love to do
direct
that
that.
show.
Yeah.
It's just such
I
a small
love that
show. It's hard
too.
to pitch for one
It
of the
would be a
musical
good season
slots.
extra.
There are a list of shows that I have that, like, are for years when Maile doesn't feel like directing a show.
Oh,
Like,
I have so many on my list.
I have no
without
interest in
you.
co-direct. Kind of like with you, where you have those things that you know you're right. You know exactly what you want. You don't want to compromise on.
What are they?
And so there are some shows that, last 5 years is one that I just don't think.
It doesn't need
I think
two
there's too many
directors.
cooks in the kitchen
Yeah.
with
And
two
that
directors.
would not suit my strong suit.
Yeah.
'Cause it's all emotions and
Yeah.
acting and
Come From Away is one that I like have some very strong opinions on and really, yeah.
I feel betrayed right now.
Would you ever do like director choreographer?
No, I can't be
No?
under his leadership.
Okay.
You were my stage manager for a show.
That's different. Stage managers are the real people in charge. I mean, my show that's at the top of my list that I don't want Eric for because he has no interest in it and I don't want to hear his opinions about is Once Upon a Mattress, which is just like the most fluffy, like silly, fun show ever.
yeah.
What about you? You've directed so many shows. Is there one that you haven't directed that your like dream show still?
Yeah. Ragtime.
Oh, interesting.
I want to do ragtime. Aida. Love Aida.
Yeah.
I'd love to do Aida. Sister Act. I
Really?
love Sister Act. Like if we're talking fun.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that one would be so much fun. Once on this Island.
Oh,
That's one I would
good
love
one.
to do. I'm getting to do one next year. I've always wanted to do Sideshow, and Sideshow's one that I'm doing next year. So that's one that I'm excited about. A show I love, which I know the Hopkins don't love Andrew Lloyd Webber, but Sunset Boulevard is a show
That is a fun.
that I want to do in some capacity.
Yeah.
In some way. I love Sunset Boulevard.
I have a crazy lady for the lead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know a couple of those.
You know, I do love one Andrew Lloyd Webber show. And here's the thing. I really like Phantom. Like, I'm a Phantom girl. I love Phantom. But do you know the one Andrew Lloyd Webber show that I'm obsessed with?
Is it like Whistle Down the Wind or something?
No, it's one
No.
of the popular ones.
Joseph.
No.
Now think about her background.
No.
Jesus Christ Superstar?
No. You're gonna punch me in the face.
Starlight Express?
No.
Cats.
Cats.
There's something wrong with cats.
Oh, well.
Love cats.
Nothing.
No, like I like unhealthily love cats.
Oh, I don't know if I feel that passionately about it.
love
I've
it.
directed Cats.
You have directed Cats.
Yes. We did it in our production.
Do you have a video of it?
Maybe. So we did it. This is a little weird. We did it in our production class one year, and we set it in. It was during COVID, so we did it outside at
Incredible.
the amphitheater in November. It was freezing.
Oh my gosh.
But we set it in World War II era London. So they were all like basically refugees.
Interesting.
Oh my
and
gosh.
McCavity was a Nazi.
Okay.
And there was like these air raids that would happen. And I'm not kidding.
I have to see this.
I'm not kidding. It was
You
actually
have to find a
pretty
video.
good.
Oh,
That's the thing about Cass
My
is
gosh.
it's so absurd anyway.
Yeah.
that you can just do
You
whatever.
kind of throw whatever at it and it'll work.
That is so freaking funny.
Angels in America is a
Yes.
play I would love to
Okay.
direct.
Okay. That was one I was gonna say. That was a play. I again, I don't have a long list of like plays
Yeah.
that I'm. But Angels in America
Yeah.
is one that I want to be in. I don't even care who I play. Well,
Yeah.
that's not true. But I want to just be in that
Yeah.
show
Yeah.
in some way.
When you talk about World War II air raids, reminded me, Alice by Heart is another musical that
Yeah.
I would love to
Yep.
direct.
I would want to direct or be in anything by Tennessee Williams.
Oh, yeah.
So Streetcar,
I would love to
Cat
be in-
on a Hot Tin
yeah.
Roof.
Yeah.
Any of those shows. Like I love Tennessee Williams. I also love Chekhov. We study Chekhov
Yeah.
in my advanced drama class every year, and we do scenes from Chekhov. And that's kind of my thing. Like I'm
Yeah.
not a Shakespeare guy, and I'm not but like Chekhov, I really, really like.
Yeah.
And I think the reason I have such a hard time with plays is more often than not because I'm more of an actor. If I have identified a play I really love, I'm going to be talking to my friends about, hey, we're wanting to direct, maybe consider
Yeah.
this show.
Yeah.
You
Blast
could
to be in.
direct Eric and I in The Producers.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine? Oh my gosh.
And Maile
SLT
develops
did
a
the
reputation
producers.
like that
Yeah.
at SLT.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh my
an
gosh. Yeah.
Just precast the whole thing.
Well, thank you so much for being our official first guest.
You're welcome. And in a year or two, I'll be your first returning guest.
Yes.
Genius. I love
Next time,
this.
maybe we're doing a show. We can do like a
Yeah.
check-in.
Oh my gosh. Next year. We'll do a show next year together.
Who knows?
Clear your schedule. Okay, Patrick, what do they need to remember to do?
Like and subscribe because we want to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year.
Woohoo! Good job.
And see you in the next one. Hey, losers. No, nerds. Hey, nerds. That's what you say. What up, nerds? What up, nerds?
What up,
That's
nerds?
it. What up, nerds? What else?
So proud of you.
Oh, I binge.
Patrick is the #1 vlog
I think
fan.
I am.
Yeah.
I think I
You were
am.
my mother. Or my father.
Might be. One of I'll take third.
One of
I'll
them.
take
Yeah.
third
Yeah.
today.
You can be bronze.
That's
yeah.
good company.
You can have the bronze medal.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.
You have to say bye.
Bye.